Welcome back to the final part of city building, planning, expansion and consolidation. I have moved over to the city centre and downtown, and we've narrowed in on Monaco Avenue. If you can hear the roar of rotor blades over here, that's an NH90 coming into the Papakura military camp, which I live about 30 seconds away from. So with Monaco, this is the core, city centre, this is the core of all activity where most of your transit lines converge. Heavy rail, bus, monorail down here, and if I drop down, you should see the metro lines running underneath. And in this instance, we also have light rail. Now this is obviously a very high population, very high business, very high people volume, very high amenity area that also suffers from traffic. It's also an area that goes through constant renewal as I chop and change, hence consolidation, hence intensification. Now, just popping back out, if intensification, which is one part of consolidation, is being done, that's usually, if I come over here, this is all low density, extremely low density actually, and that would be a simple case of dezoning out the low residential, and then putting a higher density one over the top. At the same time, it can also be seen as what's called backfilling. So this is usually a hard one to find when you're trying to do it through a video. Ah, here we go. Backfilling, so you got a small thing like that, so just allowing that to happen. Technically, if I really wanted to, I can. So that's also another form of consolidation. So it's either intensification by dezoning the light and going to a higher density, backfilling blank areas, or saying to play around with your traffic system to get the best urban development in place. This one's been a bit of a pet peeve for most of 2019 in real time. The problem is here, and this is a bit of lax playing on my side, is the motorway is all the way over here. A main east-west link is on the other side of the river, and this is technically the sole through road that connects from one motorway over the river and to the Trans-Monaco link on the other. Now we originally did solve the through traffic problem, or we did, by banning cars out. It looks like they've come back in again. But in the consolidation phase, you're doing a lot of tinkering around as you do your rezonings and getting your traffic, your transport system to match. Because if you intensify too quickly, you find your transport system doesn't cope, especially if you've done expansion and they're all still coming into an existing employment area that was not relieved by a satellite industrial complex or a metropolitan centre elsewhere. So in this case, our traffic is 73%. It's much better than it has been. If we have a look at the route finder, you can just see private vehicle count is down, which is interesting. Most of the private vehicles have actually worked their way away from the city centre, travelling around the city centre, and it's actually the transit and cargo going around, which is very interesting. There are the cars. And we do have through traffic, but most of it's transit and cargo traffic working its way through. So in the consolidation, I'm going to have to look at how to best consolidate up the line, the system. So with consolidation, you're basically doing a lot of tinkering to make sure your existing areas are firing on all cylinders. Now this could be a simple case of like mathematics not working properly, or could be just as simple as phasings. Consolidation is basically doing a lot of checking in on your city to make sure it's functioning properly. Doing any intensification that's needed, and a lot of backfilling, and just it's basically a health check. It is the most tedious part of the game, but it's also the most required part of the game unless you want your city to fall over completely and entirely. I think what you're going to find eventually is either this top part over here is going to become a roundabout, or this part's going to become a roundabout with the tram going over the top, just to keep it going. And we've got an event on today at the Aquatic Centre. Residential demand's handling itself well. So everything is basically ticking along fine. So in conclusion, your city can go through... It looks like the city is also just readjusting itself on population count as well, which is nothing unusual. This game hasn't been loaded in quite a while, so there has been change to the mods and game dynamics. So the city's just going to move itself around between 152 to 154,000 for a little bit, even with the extra residential in place. It's probably because I still need to do quite some serious consolidation in existing areas which have still quite high demand. So we'll work that out. It's just another part of consolidating the city. So yeah, in conclusion, the three phases: the planning and city building, which is where the game starts off. And in this case, in the existing city, it's when you establish another satellite. That's when all your new infrastructure goes down. Your expansion. So Monaco University Town, the airport's where the city used to stop. Then it came over the hill, over the motorway, and you've got an expansion there, and that just builds on existing infrastructure. Then you've got the consolidation, which is basically backfilling, upzoning, and just making sure everything's working itself properly. So I hope this explains everything for you. I'll come back to the city at a later date, and in the next full stream of Grand Monaco Latent Cities, we'll take a good deep dive into planning and building, given one of the main city centres is about to be built for the first time. I shall leave you with the last shot of Nuclear City, and in the meantime, shop safe. Or shall I say, let's not have 3.6 Ronkin.